So this is how you fold my origami butterfly. This can be done on a square sheet of paper, and thin paper like this will be strongly recommended, although the legs will be on edge flaps for this design. So don't be discouraged, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and get started with folding the butterfly. So we'll get started by just folding we'll just get started by first folding our halves like normal. Carefully. And then we need to split the paper up into thirds. To get this consistently, I actually want to make a little diagonal mark, or at least I'll make them until they hit the corner, or at least the middle part. Nice and easy does it. Once you get that, we'll then fold from this edge here all the way to this very corner here. Go ahead and make the mark on this diagonal part. And once you get that, you'll then use this as your reference to fold all the way across to split this part into thirds. And then you'll just fold this edge to this. And like so. Hopefully the paper from this direction will be split into thirds successfully. Next, we'll flip the paper over and we'll pleat this part to the center. Do the same thing on this side. And then from here, we'll just fold the model in half. Now, right at this part here, we'll be creating some quick creasings for the legs, at least to get the points where we want them to be. So right here, I'm going to do an inside reverse fold at the center part right here. I didn't mention this, but this is my very own design I came up with. I came up with this design last year. And this is one of my favorite designs, which I will be showing off for this new season of my channel. Now, after you get that, we'll then actually fold this flap up, lying it along with the other pleats. Just get it like that. And this will make having the reference for inside reverse folding this part here a little bit easier. So go ahead and get that and do the same thing on the other side. And you can either use this just to enjoy watching or to fold along. Either way, it's your preference on what you're using this video for. There we go. And hopefully you should have a total of 3 inside reverse folds for this very edge here. Now, I'll be taking this here and just folding it down and flying it all the way on both sides. Like that. And once you get this, we'll eventually unfold the entire model. with these new references of ours. Okay, looking good, because right here, these two are going to be the first legs, and then these are going to be the antennas, and then at this corner here are going to be for the 5th and 6th leg, at least the hind legs. So let's go ahead and make a crease along this whole part here. And what's easy about this folding reference is that you're literally just folding this edge all the way to the very center there. And then I'll go ahead and fold this part up just for this leg here for both sides. Okay, so then once again, these are going to be legs, and these very corners are going to be antennas, which will be bigger than the legs. I'm also taking inspiration from Satoshi Kamiya's butterfly, but the challenge here was to get the legs at the edges, which helps make them a lot more thinner instead of having a middle leg flap, which ends up being thick. But now that we're done with that, let's now focus on adding creases for the wings and the abdomen. So the bottom wings is pretty easy. We'll just fold this in half, and then we'll fold this part here, and be sure this is nice and flat, and fold it just right along this crease line here, because you're going to be basically 3 units in this sort of grid, which I think is, see, 3, 6, so 12 by 12 grid, so it'll be 3 units big. As for the wing positions, for the other wings positions, it's going to be a little bit weirder. But basically, to get this reference, to remember it exactly, we're basically going to be, again, we want to make it like this same length. So obviously we need to save enough room here for the other legs. And so 1, 2, 3, and the other wing should go right along here. So that way, it will save enough room for between the legs, and we don't need to worry about adding rivers. So to make this work easier, I'll extend this diagonal crease a little bit longer. Not all the way, but just enough where I can use these as my references to fold across another line here. And man, was I surprised to pull off a design like this. And believe me, the folding style is pretty fun. So once we get that, so hopefully, yes, this looks great. So now, we're going to fold this tip here to connect from this tip of the wing all the way to right here. So I'll go ahead and do that. The paper is a little bit bigger, as I just realized. So I might at least show it off a couple times here. So something like this. And I'll do the same thing on this other side, of course. And you could keep them folded in. And these flaps will thankfully help with the details for the wings, giving enough versatility on what type of butterfly you want to fold. And then right here, I'll just fold along this here, and the crease pattern surprisingly doesn't take that long, which is fun that we can just get right into folding the design. Let's see. So that looks good. So now the last thing is the abdomen. I need to remember it exactly because we're going to leave a gap right here for the head of the butterfly, which will end up being smaller than how the flap would show, but it's enough length to be able to make it more visible. And so meaning the abdomen is going to be about 2 units bigger. So right here is going to be where we're going to add the abdomen exactly. And right here is also when we can start folding. Now, depending on if you're using color-sided paper, I'm trying to think of what I want to do here. We can either go with the butterfly with a blue body or butterfly with a white body, if this can hopefully work. which hopefully you should. I'm going to try doing a butterfly with a wide body, so I'll try to start folding from back here, and I'll fold these flaps out for now. So basically this is a quick overview on the crease pattern. So these flaps here are going to be for the legs. These corners are the antennas. Then these here are going to be the wings. And then right around here, especially right here, is going to be the abdomen. And then this part, the head of the butterfly. So now let's start folding this. And like I said, if you're going to get a white, just be sure that you're able to understand your colorings correctly. So that way you don't end up having, well, white butterfly wings instead of blue if you want that. So I said that the abdomen is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and fold along here using these diagonal lines once again, because we want to start from the very middle flap, because usually that's how it branches out to be able to fold the crease pattern. And if that were the case, I should also be folding these flaps inside like this then. So at least get these flaps folded in first and then start collapsing. So right here, I'm next gonna just fold this along here and all the way. Do this on both sides of the design. Once we get that, we'll then just do an inside reverse fold, basically like this. And then we'll do the same thing on this other side as well. And we'll get it totally good right here. Now, this is actually something I actually forgot, but to make this part easier, I'll actually fold a line along here because this is also where the head is going to be. So I'll probably use these diagonal lines from this crease I made. And again, this will do just to make it easier. Okay, because now this next part is going to be some pretty challenging stuff, as long as you can follow along and understand the technique I'm going for. So, to get started, I'm going to first fold this flap up all the way till it hits to this. So basically this point is going to connect to this point here. And I'm going to connect it hopefully good like so. Once you get this here, you'll then pinch this part here and then just fold it up like this, being able to completely collapse this, to completely lie this part flat. And hopefully when you fold this down, this tip should be hitting this flap here, which is exactly what we want for the leg. Let's do the, well, before we get to the other side, let's take care of everything back here. So let's do some quick reference points, at least so we can get into narrowing the legs. So I'm going to fold this down like this. Let me make this bigger. So I'll just fold this down like this. Fold this up, then fold this down. And then fold this up one last time. So hopefully you should have folded it like this, back and forth. Like so. It's about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting this line, big line right here. And then you're going to inside reverse fold all of those creases you've just made. Okay, so now this helps create that connection flap there and gets narrowing ahead of time. So then this next part here, you're going to be basically, we want to first fold this up right here. And then we're going to pinch this part upwards like this and line this edge here along the very center. So you get it like that, and that looks pretty good there. And this is something I should have done earlier too, but let's also narrow this part as well. So I'll fold this along here, connecting from this flap to this point. Although right here, I'm not going to narrow it too much for now. Well, at least this part here, I'll narrow it, but like right here. And then I'll inside reverse fold it multiple times. And do be sure that this middle part here doesn't split, if possible. But once you get that, we're then gonna fold this part up right here. And then you can fly on this good enough without causing too much of a stress. Now we'll do the same thing on this side here. So again, just going from this point here, pitching it up like this. And I'll fold this here aside for now. We'll be sure we fold this down completely. And then back here. And then, yeah, so we're going to use this line here that's already been made. And we'll fold it down like this. And then back and forth until that one narrow part can be out of the way. So again, you should hopefully be narrowing this about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, counting this big line here. And then we'll do it inside reverse fold. Something's gone a little bit amiss. I think it was 5 times actually. I might have done too much. But be sure you at least get something like a little petal fold here. And then, again, we'll fold this up. And then we're gonna slowly pinch our way up here. If we get this edge flap lined along like this, then it's gonna work. While doing so, I'm also gonna push this here. And get this upward like so. Okay, so then you should hopefully get something like this here. And depending on these flaps here, they could be laid down like this here. You can also kind of fold them up. Well, yeah, keep them folded down like this, because otherwise then this part can be a little bit of some harder stuff. After we get that there, we're then going to continue to collapse from here. Again, this whole collapsing section is kind of is kind of weird. It might be a little bit difficult to try to follow along. So try to bear with me if you can at least play along with what I'm going for. So now we're going to create this next part to make flaps for this leg, the antenna, and this other leg. And again, the antenna is going to be basically a unit bigger than the legs. To do this, we want to basically first fold this edge right here along here. And while doing this, this is also going to be folded up right here. And then we're going to keep it collapsed like this. And then flatten this part completely. Here's a quick crease pattern here, which I'll probably unfold the whole design just to show off or reference once I get to at least a certain point. Not before we get into the open sinks, which is going to be the trickiest part of the whole design. So right here, and then I'm going to inside reverse fold this part from this point, this line here, and make it touch this point right here because we want to narrow the flap for the antenna. And then I'll do another inside reverse fold to have a good narrow part. And then I'll do the same thing on this other side. Be gentle. It can be easy to tear some parts if you're being too rushed. And then now, we're just gonna push this antenna all the way to the center by basically doing it like this. And basically the antennas, this point of the antenna will be hitting this abdomen part right here. But once you get that, we'll then do the same thing on this other side. Again, we're just going to fold it up like this. Flatten it like this, then fold it sideways. We're also going to pinch this part here. Lie it completely so it's along here. We can flatten it like this. And then the whole design right here can be flattened. And then the inside reverse folds, we'll do like this once again, twice for each side of the antennas and legs. So do the same thing here. And then we'll push this part here to angle the antenna to the very center. Again, if you hit this point of the antenna right to this tip here, then it'll be an easier reference guide. And there we go. So that helps with the connections of the head, the abdomen, the legs, the antennas, and the other hind legs. Here's a quick show of the crease pattern if you seek for more guidance. So this is all of the stuff going on with the legs now. Now, let me recollapse this. Which will take just a minute. Okay, so now I'm back to where I am. So now this next part, we're going to do this, basically this outside reverse fold for this whole part. This, again, is going to be one of the more trickier parts, especially when we get to the open sink. So right here, I'm going to fold this edge along here first. And then this point here should go all the way to this point. Find this part at least. And then get to the other side. So again, just line this part, fold this part against this here. So this will be in a, I think, a 22.5 angle. And then this is just going to be like connecting the dots through the lines. We're just going to fold this point all the way to this here. Make sure this part is good and flat. And then we'll flatten the model completely. And I'll fold both sides here. And okay, so hopefully you'll get it just like this. So then I'm going to fold this edge here along this line I just made when I fold this back and forth. So not this line here. Very important you don't fold on this line, but the one behind it you want to get to. Fold to. And it's best if you not fold ahead of me, just if you're trying to fold this along. So get this here, and then we're going to use it to squash this whole thing. Also right here, I realized these flaps should actually be folded out like this. So you should be having this out here, by the way, which is a mistake I accidentally made at the start. So fix that if you can. Okay. So once you get this, we're then gonna get these flaps to get to the very center of this line here. You kind of need to think of like this imaginary line going across the entire design. So we want to get these points to hit this line in the middle. And to do that, we're gonna basically do this. We'll get these two merged in, obviously. And then if we're flattening it, this point right here, where these two lines meet up, you kind of want to flatten it or a way where it kind of forms a little triangle. And then also being sure back here that these can line along well here. Like I said, I recommend practicing a lot of origami if you want to do creations like these. But we'll get it like this. So basically, this is the triangle I was kind of mentioning. It's an obtuse triangle here that helps connect this part and makes this doable. So then, I'll fold this along here. Then inside reverse fold this, like so. And then I'm going to do a spread sink. And then I'm going to push this part up right here. So again, this part is going to be folded up. I'm going to fold this. Oh wait, before I actually do that though, I actually need to do another quick thing. But go ahead and keep it like this for now. So back here, we're then going to create actual flaps for the wings. And this part is again going to be a little bit of a headache for some. So right here, basically we'll want to get this line to go along that imaginary middle line of ours. So this point will be hanging to here. This point will be basically connecting, well, here for quick reference, this line is going to be folded to this point where these two flaps connect. And then this one will go along here, which is, the reference is to have this edge along the center. And then there's going to be a middle flap connecting them both. So just think of connecting the dots here. And then we'll fold this part up just right here. And there we go. So then we'll have this here, which is pretty small. But we'll fix that after we do the same thing on this side. So again, this is going to be this line here to this point. This edge of this edge here. And then the points connect together like this, like connecting the dots, and then inside and then pushing this part up, creating this little triangle shape thing. And getting it up there like so. So now, of course, these bottom wings, these front wings are very small compared to these. To fix this is going to be another annoying thing here. So we'll fold this flap down, and then I'm going to fold this up. And right here is where I want to do this here. So I'll go ahead and do this like I was doing before. And I'll fold this edge along the center here. And then I'm going to open sync this entire part here. And this is not the complex open sync I was mentioning yet. And then once you get the open sink, we'll then fold this down. Okay, so now we'll be set. So let me go ahead and fold this down, fold this up, and then fold these points downwards. Just right along here. You don't want to fold too much on this part here because you can tear the paper maybe. Oh, and one more thing too. Fold these along here. And then we'll fold this down, which is something I should have done before. So right here, we're then gonna have to try get this to push up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna basically pull this flap up, and this angle right here is gonna change to be a bit more angled in. Once you get that, squash it. I think I might need to just right along here. Okay, so this is what it looks like on both of these sides. I could do a quick crease pattern here. But this is basically what this side looks like now. This side wasn't appearing well. Okay, but doing this now, and you'll notice that even though these are now like the right flaps, there's this middle part here. If you look inside, this part right here is kind of still in the way. So we're gonna push it up by first doing some inside reverse folds. Well, maybe not inside reverse folds. Again, you're gonna have to do this without too much references. well, except for this one line here, which I think actually helps a lot. I'll push it up. I'm gonna have to try this here. But now we'll have this part pushed up, and now that middle part is no longer in the way, and the wings are at the right size they should be in. Okay, so this is basically the base of the butterfly now. Now this whole section was indeed a little bit tricky to do, but we'll now have all the flaps for all the legs, the head, the abdomen. These parts here will be used for pleating to help detail the abdomen, the wings, and yeah, and the other wings here. Okay, and yeah, so that's going to be it for this first part with the base, and the next part is going to be like a lot of open sinks so we can narrow the model, and that's going to be kind of a whole nother section, of course. So like so, just yeah, so go ahead and yeah, take a break if you need to, but otherwise this is going to be it for part 1, and I'll see you in part 2 where I'll show you how to fold the rest of the design, hopefully. And thank you so much for watching. See ya.